This is Jovan Jones, and you're looking at Extra Time TV.
Hi, I'm Shaka Hislop, and you're here at Extra Time TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Extra Time TV. This is Andrew Sooklal, and I'm joined by the man from Scotland, James Baird. How are you today?
I am very good. Looking forward to the game tomorrow night, Andre.
Yes. So the Gold Cup continues. For those of you who looked at our match preview and our match reaction, Trinidad Tobago got an amazing 0-0 draw against Mexico. A lot of people thought we were going to get washed, including myself as well. And I'm not afraid to admit I was wrong. And I'm very glad. I'm very, very glad. But now up next, we play El Salvador, who is on top of the group right now. And the dynamic of the group has really changed, particularly with that draw. So, James, let's get into it. We play them tomorrow. What are your initial thoughts heading into this game?
I mean, if you had to ask me at the start of the group, I would have said they had no chance. And I'm being honest. I mean, like you, I thought the Mexico game would have been a lot tougher for us. I mean, we put in a great shift. We got a point out of it. And I don't see why we can't go do something similar in this game too. I mean, and if you look at the stats, as we mentioned in the last video, 3 wins to Trinidad and Tobago and 2 draws in the last 5 games. So we've not lost against El Salvador, which is a big thing. As I say, it's a different squad now. But I think Angus Eve may make quite a few changes again because of obviously the dynamic of the squad, the players he has. So it'll be interesting, this one.
Yes, and one of the issues that we've always raised is that at the beginning of the tournament, and I still maintain this, match fitness. I mean, yes, we put in a magnificent performance against Mexico, but that had to be physically demanding. I mean, those guys put in a show that was worthy of, many drinks after the game, although they probably shouldn't do that. But now that the game is done and those guys played their hearts out, they have this game against El Salvador. How do you think Angus Eve is going to approach this game? And also, let me know what you think about the fitness levels.
I mean, the fitness levels will come into it because we have a lot of unattached players. I mean, yes, you can train. We spoke about it in detail, but they're not going to be match fit necessarily. And that's where obviously squad rotation, substitutes come into it. I mean, that's why, as I say, the new rule, FIFA rule is, you can make the 5 substitutes in the 3 windows that you have. So obviously Angus Eve will have to use that to his advantage. But I think what we may do tactically is probably play our wide midfielders a little further forward. You may see, as I say, probably Molino come in. I think Moore will probably still play up front. I thought he held the line well. But I think they may, for example, take out Ross Russell Jr. and maybe bring in Molino on the left. I think Hackshaw may come in for either Garcia or Williams. But I think the defence will probably stay very much the same. I thought the defence looked pretty solid. So I think we'll still play, in theory or in essence, a 5-4-1. I think it'll become an attack more of a 5-2-3-1, a 5-2-3-1. But so I think things won't change too much inside the personnel, with the exception, as I said, of Molino and Hackshaw. But again, the game will have to be managed. So, and I think that's something Angus will be very aware of. His staff will be watching them to make sure to see who's putting in the shift, because it will mean 100% concentration again.
Yes. And, this is a formation, as I've stated many times before, I really love. It's very flexible. I remember years ago at Central FC and other places and other shows, I mentioned my liking for this formation because I think it suits us, because you can switch to ultra defensive. And if you need to, we have the type of wide, pacey players that could really hurt a team when they push their back line up. And I think it has to be said, the use of this formation, I think, needs to be implemented at youth levels and so on. But that's a whole other topic. So we could be...
I mean, just to pick up on what you said, I just want to correct something. I said a 5-2-3-1, but what I was trying to say is an attack, we will go to a 4-2-3-1, in a sense.
Okay.
So, so we will switch back to, as I say, Angus's favoured formation, I think, when we attack, and then we'll drop back to have that back 5 when we're defending. So just in case MD out there saying, what is James talking about?
Yeah, correcting you folks. James is always on his toes, even if it's his own toes. But I agree. I think it's a very... Now, when people talk about formations, and James, you'll agree with me here, I hate to say this because I play FIFA as well, but when we use the majority of kids out there and the people look at these games, talk about formations and players, like that's just all there is to it. And the fact is, as you rightfully described in the right way, in offense you have a different formation, in defense you have a different formation, and it's generally a bit of a guideline, and it's down to the coach to really explain to the players what he wants. And what I'm thinking is, and I'm agreeing with you, James, that I think they may not have to be as defensive as they were against Mexico, but it's good that they can if they need to be. And that's very important because as we saw in the Copa America, I was going to say the Euros, but then Southgate is not a good example because they end up conceding and losing. And I'm not trying to make fun of England fans, but the fact that you can have a solid defense can really get you far in tournaments. And we spoke about this in the Euros when we were talking about Scotland, James. Emphasizing defense and locking that back door can really give you a bit of peace and tranquility when you play against, especially after a result against Mexico. So I think, like what you said, James, I'm just building on it. I think that's exactly what they're going to do. The lineups may be a bit of a thing that we'll discuss now, because obviously everybody thought that Nicholas Frendrup was going to play, but Marvin came on and played well. We spoke in great detail about that in our last video. Do you think Nicholas will return, or do you think he'll stick with Marvin?
It's a hard one. I think personally he should stick with Marvin because he had a great game, and I think that leadership there. But when I saw the press conference, obviously with Angus Eve, it was Nicholas Frendrup who did some of the speaking. So I don't know if that's a telltale sign that he's going to go back to that. Again, he will have looked at El Salvador's team, how they play, and he may make that change. But I think because of the performance by Marvin, he should stick with him. But again, anybody knows what's in the head of a coach, just like anybody knows what's in my head. So sometimes we'll change things up. So we just have to wait and see, really.
Yes. And, obviously, for those of you who don't know, I saw people asking, where is Levi Garcia? Where's Kaleem Highland? Kaleem Highland, unfortunately, got injured. And also Levi Garcia is not in the squad. He returned to his club for preseason training and things like that. But, Molino is in there. And unfortunately, younger brother Judah, suffered an injury as well. But we do have some capable players in there, James. Do you think Kevin Molino will have more of a proactive role in this game?
I think he will play. I was looking at the way Hugo Perez sets up El Salvador. He's a coach who came up through their under-23s, obviously took over the senior program. I think the right backs, I think it's Tamacas, tends to attack a little bit. He's a right full back. So it would give Molino that opportunity to drop in there and, try and test them for pace. I think they have some good players. Ronaldo Gomez is a very good centre-back. I think Rion Moore, for example, will play right on his shoulder to try and obviously keep the defence back. And they play this 4-5-1 as well, which again, we play a 5-4-1, they're playing a 4-5-1, but they can also switch it up to a 4-2-3-1 as well. And they do have some good players there. They have a few players playing in for MLS. Their striker's a very good striker. Portillo is a good player. Seren's a good player. So it's going to be an interesting game because I think if you look at the last game, I think the goals came from Rivas and Roldan for El Salvador. And they are a good team because Guatemala are no pushovers. They obviously disposed of them 2-0. So they'll be thinking they can come and probably get another 2 or 3 goals against us. But it's up to us to stop them.
Yes. And I think tactically they're very disciplined. Hugo Perez. I know that they have fast players on the wings. I've seen them before in some previous games. When things get rough, they're not afraid to go hard down the wings. But both teams are similarly set up, James. But once again, we come back to this issue. While we've been performing great and we've been achieving great results, whether people like to admit it or not, fitness, obviously team spirit and so on is great. It gets you some results sometimes. But do you think that the fitness issues may eventually surface in this game?
It will come into it because players are going to be tired. There's not a huge amount of time between games. So, and as I say, that's where Angus is going to have to balance making the right substitutions at the right time. Let's be honest, guys like, for example, Abu Bakar, even Alvin Jones, I think they're unattached club-wise. So, as I say, their match fitness won't be there. I think Arcia, because he's based locally, he's not been playing much. Rion Moore's obviously not been playing much either, but they've probably been training with the team. I think Ross Russell Jr. is at Rangers now. So there's a lot of players there that have been either unattached or with local clubs, not on peak fitness by any means. So it's going to mean managing the squad. So, for example, I think we have some players to come in there, but it depends if obviously Angus he's going to want to keep the same structure, the same formation. So he's going to have like for like substitutions. As I say, he can only make 5, but that's something that I'm sure his staff are really making sure they know how much energy is left in each player at what points. I mean, as I say, we know that Molino came on the second half, Hackshaw came on the second half. We may see something similar. It may be that he's saving, the second half to try and have a go at them in a sense if we can, because we saw it, for example, in the Euros a lot of games, teams would sit back, kind of soak up the pressure for a period of time, and then you've tired them out a little bit and try and go at them. It might be that we do that too. And it'll be interesting because I think it's going to be another tactical battle. As I say, Eve has looked up to the job in the games he's done so far. I think he's a very passionate coach, and it'll be interesting to see how he handles this one.
Yes, and I'm going to say something that's it should not be controversial, but Trinidad Tobago would take it controversial anyway, but it's not. One of the good things that as a Trinidad Tobago fan that people have to acknowledge, those training camps that were taking place for months and months and months in Trinidad Tobago are paying off now, even though it's not the same as match fitness. A lot of these guys had some form of fitness heading into this tournament. So there was a foundation there for a lot of these guys. It's not perfect. It does not replace actual games. It does not. And you know that, James. That's what we're talking about. However, I think it does help. I know for a fact, Radanfa and a lot of those guys were in the training camps. So it's good to see that, at least they have the baseline physical preparation there, for all those elite trainers and so on in Trinidad Tobago, movement mechanics and so on. Maybe we might bring them on for the next game, Gregory Seal. They can give us some insight on the ideal ways to prepare in such conditions, because let's be real, COVID-19 has changed the game. But, back to the game now. So James, we highlighted formations, who you think would be the key player or players in this particular game?
I think for Trinidad Tobago, again, Marvin Phillip, if he plays, will be a key man, because I think, I can virtually go out on a limb and say El Salvador will have a lot of possession. They will have a lot of shots on goal. I think Aubrey David and Abu Bakr will have a key game as well. So I think the three of them, I would like to say if Molino plays, but I don't think we're going to have that much attacking option. Moves, going forward. I think we may get, 3 or 4 in the game, and if we take them, obviously great. But I think it'll be more of a defensive battle again. And on the opposite, I think for El Salvador, as I say, Seren is a big player for them. I like Portillo as well, but to me, Ronaldo Gomez is a solid centre back, and he will kind of lead them from the back, in my opinion.
Yes. And, for folks, when we do analysis, predictions, I don't really like predictions, James, because that's not really analysis, because it really comes down to guessing. And that's why we have these discussions, where we sit down and we try to work out the strengths and weaknesses of both teams. And it's just for fun that we do the predictions. That's more like a guessing game, James. But to be honest, I think based on the performance in the Mexico game, I think the only thing that I'm concerned about, and this will be the third time I'm mentioning it, is while I understand Angus knows what he's doing, the fitness is going to be key coming. I think around the 65th minute onwards is where we'll see where this game goes. Because I think player for player, I think we're okay right now. I think in terms of tactics, I think we have a very solid formation. I think Angus has a nice problem to have between Marvin Phillip and Nicholas Frendera, both quality keepers. And with the injuries, the losses of players, I think, with all things considered, the Gold Cup has been ahead of expectations. And I think maybe the low expectations may have worked in our favor. A lot of people, I think Marcelo Bielsa said once, being favorites is a psychological weight. It takes the psychological weight of one and adds it to the other, being the favorites. So I think us coming in with no expectations gives us that freedom, I think, to really go out there and, perform.
I'll tell you one thing, Andre. The one thing people have to remember is injuries and suspensions are opportunities for somebody else.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that. So, for example, some of these guys may not have got the chance. If Highland was there, if Bato was there, if Levi Garcia was there. So these, I don't want to say mishaps, but the fact they're able to, had to go with a club or they got injured is an opportunity for somebody else. So it's a good opportunity to have. So, let them take it.
Yeah. And as I always said, while development and thinking long-term is great, we're in a tournament now. It's all about the results. And it shows that we have some options moving forward. Unfortunately, the World Cup campaign is not a thing anymore. But fortunately for us, we have a competitive tournament where these players can play and build some foundations on the existing foundations that were built. Because let's remember, folks, we started from ground zero because of COVID-19 and the normalization committee or whatever. So this is basically a brand new Trinidad Tobago team. This has nothing to do with my favoritism or preference over coaches. I think both play their part to where the team is now. And we'll see how it goes. So James, I asked you this in the last video, and I'm going to see if you change your mind. Do you think we'll get a good result, and do you think we can make it out of this group?
Why not? Why not? That's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to be critical, because I think, as I say, the team put in such a good performance. We have to give them the credit now, and I think, yeah, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, that Mexico performance, no matter who you are, there is nobody who could have predicted that result. I mean, obviously, if you're a player, you want to get that result, but anybody who analyzes football can never truthfully say, I knew Trinidad was going to go in that game and get a 0-0 draw. Of course, there's a fan perspective where you're emotional and say, well, I will support Trinidad every day, every night, all the time, which I can understand that. Because, despite all the problems we have, here we are, James and I, no matter what, we're always talking about Trinidad Tobago football and nobody else does. And we try to do it as, balanced as possible. So I think it's going to be a difficult game. I think we have to be very wary and don't let the overconfidence sink in that, okay, we drew with Mexico, so everybody else should be, easy to handle. But I think what it does is, and I think Angus is knowledgeable enough to get that message to the players. All right, we got a great result against Mexico. Now we have another game to play. It's another team, and keep them on their toes. So there's no complacency. I think that was my concern in the qualifiers, and it didn't seem to affect them. They showed a lot of character in the penalty kick shootouts, the penalty shootout. So I think, like you said, James, there's no reason why I think we can't get a result. I think the way our both teams are set up, it looks like it could be another stalemate, or it's probably going to be like a 1-0, depending on how the game goes along. But my two concerns: fitness and complacency. And I think if the team that is doing the recovery sessions for the Trinidad Tobago team are doing what they should do, I think we should be okay. And I use the word okay. But folks, you can let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think we're absolutely insane? Some people are saying the Mexico result was luck. Some people are saying it's grit and determination. Let me know what you think. That's what the show is about. There's no wrong opinion here. We'll listen to everybody. We can agree and disagree agreeably. So James, before we go, do you have anything to add to this?
No, I just wish the Trinidad team all the best. And kids out there, we saw Ronaldo talk about it. We saw Bonucci and Chiellini drink their beer and their Coca-Cola. Well, let's drink some water. We live in the Caribbean. It's hot here. We need to stay hydrated. So do what I'm doing and have a nice glass of water, or at least 8 a day.
Yes. Hydration is key, folks. Hydration is key, which I'm actually, after the show, I need to ensure that I hydrate because I haven't. And also, James, I can't believe I forgot to add this. I'm a huge fan of different tactics. Kids, I know you all love attacking football, and there's a reason, because it's beautiful, but we're seeing that there are different ways to play the game. And for those of you, and I know Sandro, if you're looking at this, our Italian rep, who's celebrating right now because, the Azzurri has won the Euros. I think Sandro would have a great appreciation for what he saw against Mexico with Trinidad Tobago. I think you would agree with that, James. So folks, it's been amazing. James and I will do a post-match reaction. We'll try. We've always been trying to do a watch along, but it's very difficult because of the time and, all the other things that's going on. But the football fixture list has kind of eased up a bit. James and I could juggle a little more time. So we'll do a post-match reaction. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. The probable formations, lineups. And do you think we can win this game? And do you think we can get out of this group? So like I always say, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment in the comment section below. Also feel free to purchase EXTV merch, which goes directly towards helping kids who have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. There's a lot of kids out there who don't have parents. They don't have finances coming in. That little bit helps a lot. So I'll put a link to that in the description below. So James, once again, it's a pleasure. And folks, James and I'll be waiting to have this conversation after the game, folks. So thank you for watching. Nice. Just a reminder, everyone, for more episodes with Shaka Hislop, be sure to head over to our YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more updates, interviews, and content.